The Northwestern basketball train right now, it might be unstoppable because they got it done against Minnesota. Maybe one that we all were expecting, but we still got to talk about it.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every single day. We really appreciate it. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We are also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us there. Wherever you're listening, make sure that you are subscribed and you turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode. Also, today's show is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your 2023 goals. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's jump into this because Northwestern, the Wildcats came out of that COVID pause and we thought everything had a chance to kind of go haywire, but they respond last week with a huge win at home, 66-63 versus Wisconsin. Then they go on the road 2 days later and get a 78-63 win at Nebraska. Then they came back home and took on Minnesota for their third game in 5 days. And while I expected Northwestern to win the game, I really did. I didn't expect Minnesota to be a team that would beat Northwestern at home. I did have concerns because, look, at this point in the year, at this exact point in the year, maybe earlier when we're talking about early season tournaments, but at this point in the season, you don't play 3 games in 5 days. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anywhere. And Northwestern, here they were, playing their third game of last week against Minnesota. And so I had some worries that they were 12.5-point favorite, but I worried that maybe eventually the heavy legs would start to set in. Things would make it difficult for Northwestern to sustain the level of success that we'd been seeing. And I thought that it could be a closer game than that 12.5-point line. It's a Northwestern team that is playing its way into the tournament conversation, playing its way and climbing up the Big Ten. They needed to keep the momentum going. And you know what? It's a Minnesota team that Jimmy's and Joe's wise, as far as the players on the roster, should not be able to compete with Northwestern, but you still have a Northwestern team that is without Julian Roper, having to change up rotations, having to figure out ways to keep guys as fresh as possible. And I think that they've done a pretty good job of it. I really believe that. But you have seen in second halves, the past 2 second halves, you've seen maybe some heavy legs set in. So there were just some concerns about that. But I felt pretty good going into this. I felt Northwestern could get to 3 straight wins going into this next week, which all of a sudden is a huge one when you look at it. Some really, really big opportunities for this Northwestern squad. But, Minnesota's coming in, a team that had lost a whole bunch of games in a row. They had that it had not been a pretty start in conference play. They were 7-12 coming in. had lost what? They'd lost two. They lost 8 conference games coming in. They're 1-8, I do believe. They were the worst free throw shooting team in the country, where they still rank right now. But I mean, it was a team that fresh you expect Northwestern to handle with ease. Um, but then you also see the fact that they had jumped up on the road and gotten an Ohio State team that in KenPom and in the net rankings is still respected despite what is a really, really bad stretch. I mean, they beat Northwestern, Ohio State did, at Northwestern. Then they dropped 5 in a row. Then they beat Iowa. Then they dropped 2 in a row. Like, things are not fantastic for Ohio State, but still a solid team that is respected in the KenPom, respected in the net rankings. And you had a Minnesota team go on the road and beat them. So you know that this team is capable of kind of jumping up and getting you if you don't take them seriously. The great thing is Northwestern has a lot of veteran guys on the team, so it's less likely to see Northwestern take these teams lightly. And I think as we saw it play out, that's kind of exactly what happened. That's kind of is exactly what happened from my point of view. I was very impressed. And we're going to talk about it here in a second. But first, let's talk about our friends at FanDuel. This year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for the Locked On Network because they're the #1 sportsbook in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features to make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. And I mean, honestly, when you look at the Super Bowl, with the way that these teams have been playing, kind of have to like some sort of Travis Kelce touchdown. Might kind of like a Jalen Hurts touchdown. I kind of like the Eagles going into this game, which maybe that's me overreacting to the injury status of the Chiefs, but we will see. So that's kind of what I have my eye on as the Super Bowl approaches just a couple weeks from now. The FanDuel Sportsbook is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports book of the NFL. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every day. Locked On is also heading to the Senior Bowl. Get inside analysis from the hosts that cover the NFL's next generation in college and find out which NFL draft boards these players will be climbing, all in one location. Subscribe to Locked On NFL Draft for nightly live shows from the Senior Bowl on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, let's talk about this game because Northwestern, it's another game where they were really, really hot shooting the basketball in that first half. Northwestern shot the ball 55.2% from the field and went 6 of 10 from 3 for 60%. Only got the line 8 times, hit 7 of those with Matt Nicholson, the worst free throw shooter on the team. He missed 1 of his 3 free throws. But Chase Audige got rolling early, 5 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 3 free throws, 15 first half points. And you love to see that. Boo Buie, 4 of 8 from the field, efficient, 1 of 2 from 3, 9 points only 1 rebound, but 6 assists and no turnovers in the first half. What an unbelievable job by him. Those two are starting to play such really, really good basketball right now. It's so encouraging as you watch it. Robbie Barron was solid, 6 points, 2 of 3 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3. You see Nick Martinelli off the bench again in 9 minutes. Gives you a couple points on free throws, but grabs 4 first half rebounds. And that is what I absolutely love to see out of him, as you see the impact that he is starting to have with Julian Roper out. He's coming in and making plays, and I love to see that out of a freshman. Brooks Barnheiser had a couple putbacks. He had 4 points, 2 of 4 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 4 boards, 1 assist. Look, it was encouraging. You hold a Minnesota team to 28 points. They still somehow shoot 45.5% from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. Didn't feel like that at all. But what is key is you turn them over 11 times, and I think that is key. You outshoot them from the field, you outshoot them from 3. You have a better percentage, or you outshoot them at the free throw line. They go 3 of 7 at the free throw line, 5 of 8 at the free throw line in the first half. It was really impressive. 11 turnovers to 3. Northwestern wins that battle. Points off turnover 14-3 in Northwestern's favor. Rebounding was dead even. Binge points, slight edge to Northwestern. Points in the paint, edge to Northwestern. Fast break points, 2-0 Northwestern. Northwestern had 5 blocks and 5 steals in the first half. Just a dominating performance that allowed Northwestern to build a 45-28 lead. In the second half, it was a little bit more even, I would say. Northwestern wasn't quite as hot. 48% from the floor, 15 of 31, 3 of 10 from 3 rather than 6 of 10, but still a good day shooting the basketball from deep. Did not really get to the free throw line, which I didn't love. Only 3 of 4 at the line. Meanwhile, you look at Minnesota, they got to the line 18 times in the second half. Only hit 11 of them because they are the worst free throw shooting team in America. They would go 2 of 11 from 3, so they didn't kill you from there. And they shot 45.5%, 10 of 22. They out rebound you slightly. Northwestern, again, only 1 turnover in the second half. Boo Buie, his only turnover. He had 12 points in that second half on his 5 of 12 shooting. Got to the line a couple times, hit his 2 more assists. So he finished with 8 assists, 1 turnover for the game. You love that. Chase Audish, 9 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. Robbie Barron, 8 points in the second half, 3 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. You love to see guys up and down the roster giving you some production. And you didn't let anybody just kind of go off against you besides Jamison Battle. He had 20 points. But you counteract that with Boo Buie and Chase Audish have 21 and 24 in that game. And you have the 8 assists by Boo Buie. Robbie Barron gave you 14 as well. And you just you build a huge second half lead. And you just run out the clock. I think you do see the legs get a little heavier in the second half, but you're playing your 3rd game in 5 days. Things kind of the way that these games have played out here recently is Northwestern builds the lead and then has to survive. The Wisconsin game, you kind of had to have Boo Buie figure out a way to drag you along for a little bit, where a couple big threes late could help push you over the edge. But when you look at it, nobody in the negative in the plus minus. All your main rotation guys are +9 and up, with the exception of Robbie Barron, interestingly enough, had a 0 plus minus. Ty Berry leads the team in the plus minus at +20. But it was a good game. Boo Buie had 3 steals. The defense made its presence felt at times. And Northwestern is able to come out with an 81-61 victory that is absolutely huge just to keep that momentum going into what is going to be a really, really, really big week where you draw the likes of Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin um, over a 5-day period. And it's going to be tough. But this team, it's going to be fascinating. If they can keep this momentum going, who knows? Who knows what this team can be? We're going to talk about that and what's really happened over this stretch and what's encouraging and what's coming up in just a second. But first, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Experts Isaac Shade and Andy Patton bring you everything you need to know on and off the court. Plus, hear from big name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so something you notice is, and something we had talked about a lot, it was an issue before the COVID pause because you saw it was an issue against Ohio State. It really was an issue against, I think it was an issue against Indiana and Illinois. So I know it was an issue against Rutgers. I know it was an issue to an extent against Michigan. But in Northwestern's losses, you had seen some slow starts. But since that COVID pause, you watched Northwestern jump on Wisconsin early. You watched them build a lead there. You watched them do the same thing to Nebraska, and they did the same thing to Minnesota, where they got up big early. And that is encouraging because then you're flipping the script on what your issue has been in your losses this year, because you're making the other team chase you. And you, if you continue to shoot the ball well, you can continue to kind of keep them at arm's length, which in the last 2 games we've seen exactly that. And I think when you don't dig yourself a giant hole, when you are able to either stay with the team while you figure them out, or if you're able to build a lead, that's even better. But we've seen Northwestern dig some really big holes, and they have the fight. And they have the ability to scrap out of it, make it competitive, and make it close. They've even been able to win some games doing that. But it's challenging when you keep digging holes for yourself. This team has seemingly put a stop to that here recently. Encouraged by that. The way that you're playing, it feels like a very cohesive team right now. The ball movement is good. The crashing the offensive glass is good. The passing is really good. I mean, I think about Chase Audige had a beautiful, he gets into the paint and he kind of just reaches around a guy and dumps it off to Matt Nicholson, who gets the finish. Like, you're getting a lot better high-level play out of your guards, out of your really the team, top to bottom. And it's been really impressive. And you've done it without Julian Roper, one of your kind of energy off the bench pieces. And you've kind of found Nick Martinelli, who is giving you solid minutes off the bench. So you found a little extra depth in this run, and that's encouraging. I'm very excited about this team. This team is now 15-5. And they are, I believe, 6-3 in Big Ten play, which is good enough for solo second place as of right now in the Big Ten. They're going to have to get a big win Tuesday to keep that spot more than likely, because there's a row of teams behind them at 6-4. But this team continues to play good defense. The defensive efficiency's dropped off a hair. It's now down to 22, but the offense has ticked up. The offensive efficiency is up to 88th. You're not turning the ball over hardly at all anymore. You're 17th in the country at that. Your 2-point defense is still the 7th best in the country. You are not allowing the other team to get steals on you. You're 7.2%, which is good for 6th in the country. Meanwhile, you're blocking shots at 14.8%, 12th in the country. Stealing the basketball, 12.4%, 23rd in the country. you make life difficult for teams on the defensive end when they're on offense, and then you don't turn the ball over, and you're starting to shoot the ball a little bit better. You're shooting the ball better from 3 as well, and that's allowing you to string together some wins here. Northwestern's all the way up to 43 in the KenPom right now and 40 in the net rankings. That's the big one. That's the one that's really, really impressive. Of course, this week, Northwestern's back in action on Tuesday, tomorrow night, against Iowa. And that is going to be a really, really fun challenge at 8 o'clock, a makeup game. I don't know if a network's been announced. I'm going to double check that because it's not on the ESPN app where it normally would be. And so I'm going to see if I can find where that game is going to be played and how you can watch it. It's got to be somewhere. There's no way that that game is not on television. It's too big of a game. All right. Right now, okay, it's on the Big Ten Network. So there you go. 8 p.m. tomorrow night, the makeup game from, when was it? The makeup game from January 18th. Then, of course, later in the week, after that road trip to Iowa, you get Michigan at home, who just got kind of dominated by Penn State. Interesting to see where that team's at. Iowa got they put up a ton of points. I think they put up 93 points on Rutgers and beat them 93-82 to allow Northwestern to get that second place in the Big Ten. Second place in the Big Ten position or in the standings. And so now you got to match up against a team that's pretty stout, 13-8, and is a really good offensive team, 7th best offensive team in the country according to the efficiency metrics. And they don't turn the ball over either. So it may be a battle of two teams that don't turn the ball over. Can Northwestern score enough? It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to look at that tomorrow. And then on Sunday, back in action against Wisconsin on the road at Wisconsin. Then you'll actually be on the road again at Ohio State. So it's going to be 3 out of the next 4 on the road for Northwestern. But then after that stretch, you get 3 straight home games. Big opportunity this week for Northwestern to keep up momentum and keep climbing in bracketology, keep climbing in the KenPom, keep climbing in the net rankings, keep climbing. Well, you probably need some help because you're 3 games back of Purdue, but you got to figure if you keep winning games, eventually they're going to drop some, and you do see Purdue here in a couple weeks. So great opportunity for Northwestern this week. Very excited to see how it shapes up. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every single day. We really appreciate it. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We are also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us there. And yeah, wherever you're listening, make sure you're subscribed and you turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode. And I'll see you all next time. I'm your host, Carter Bird. You can follow me on social media at CarterBird13. And yeah, see you tomorrow.